All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jazz Talk with Sabine. I'm featured artist by Gail Boyd. I want to thank you for bringing me in, and I will be happy to share my jazz journey, my music journey, and some of my know-hows with you as my audience. Well, um, well, first of all, don't judge me very strictly because I'm used to playing music. I'm not used to talking. Of course, I talk at my concerts when I introduce the band or when I talk about music we play. But in this situation, this is like I have 30 minutes. It's a lot to tell about myself. And actually, like to be honest, it's like most boring thing to talk about yourself. But I'll try to start from the beginning how uh, I happen to be a jazz musician. So let me start. In my background, I'm from Russia, Moscow, and it's very typical and very normal for mm, Russians or Asians to give their children very strict superior training in classical music. That was my situation, and I actually went to very specific school for that. As a matter of fact, I was trained to become a concert classical pianist with all those consequences. So I was trained like to win competitions, to perform on the biggest stages in the world, and my program at school was very intense. Also, it included like different disciplines like math, language, foreign language. In my situation, it was English, but everything was focused on the music. So that was like the main thing. And what can I say? I'm just looking over my notes. I quickly made last night because it's like a lot. It's so overwhelming to me. Uh, well, I would say I said about my classical background and what it means. Going to school like I went to. It means like very extensive practicing sessions. It means like working a lot on your technical skills, playing etudes, scales, and be very meticulous about that exercises. And also, it was very important to learn immense kind of repertoire. um Even in a short period of time. For example, um, mm, a principal could talk to my teacher and said, "Hey, we need her to play a concert, small concert in several days. She needs to learn um, certain pieces." So I went to the piano and learned them. So it was like really intense. And of course, public performances was like necessary part of curriculum I went through. And my stage experience like was very intense. Um, at first, I went on stage publicly when I was 6, just when I entered that school and started studying, and it was very intense. I play like in most of notable venues in Russia. I also went to abroad, and so etc. And let me tell you about how it all started. Back then I was not even close to to idea of playing jazz. I've never heard jazz, as a matter of fact. And even talking about the classical training, it's very heavily insists on developing sight reading skills, which is very important because when you play like with a chamber group or with a singer, you need that. Or even in our company, somebody with piano, violin concerto to an orchestra part. It's very important. But such thing as like ability to pick the melody by ear was very underrated in that kind of system. And like lots of people in classical music, especially piano players, they have perfect pitch, but they cannot really use it because it's there was no necessary thing, no practical thing for that. And also, like it was like very strange for my mom. She was used to like her classmates um, in the school and in the college were able to play anything by ear, not using music in front of them at all. So she was probably only person who uh, insisted on that and just said she was keeping saying, "You should try it. You should try it." And I was like, I didn't see it very important and very interesting. And then once I did, I did try it, and I loved it like instantly. I started picking up like different popular songs. I started even picking up classical music. I went to the Bolshoi theater, and shortly like after I got home, I was very impressed with what I've seen. Like I've seen like almost all productions of Bolshoi. I was able to jump up at the piano and try to play what I just heard. That was that was at least some kind of start in my situation. I've never done anything like improvisation. It was was even had no idea what it is. And once upon a time, it was like interesting story happened to me. My brother also studied music. His piano teacher, she was going to immigrate in the United States to the United States at that time, and since she was classical pianist in her training, she left uh, lots of vinyl records. Of course, most of them were classical music, of course. But I spotted two records. In one of them, there were record of Ella Fitzgerald, I believe, with the Count Basie Orchestra. I don't really remember. And also, the other one was Louis Armstrong. When I heard uh, both of those records, something happened to me. Something was like clicked, and I was very amazed because I've never heard anything like this before. It was like not part of my education or my curriculum. It was part of something especially like very special and very very fresh new world, new free world. And my first thoughts were when I heard them, especially I enjoyed Ella Fitzgerald and the orchestra and the tunes she sang. My first idea was how probably happy those people are. They are if they're able to do such a pretty things with those tunes, with that kind of music. And it stuck in my head, like I couldn't stop like thinking about what I just heard. And my friends started to supply me with jazz records they have. And one of my like childhood friends took me to the jazz concert. It was a Scandinavian band, and I still remember the piano player's name. His name was Ben Bisyakov. Sometimes I hear him on 88.1 on Key Jazz. And when I went to that concert, I recognized those tunes I heard on Ella Fitzgerald record, and I was amazed eh, by the way they played it. I was really amazed, like how many times, how many ways you can interpret it, do different interpretation of the same kind of music. So that was it. I was like very far from doing that, but I started to play by ear what I heard from that record and start emulating. I had no idea what I was doing by then. It was like it was a joke, but I had that idea in my head that sometime, someday, I'm gonna play that kind of music. I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is going to happen. And I had no idea that I will be going to the United States. Back then, it was like very, very so unusual and so unexpected. Uh, I finished school. I also graduated from the college, from the Gnesins Institute, and I went to the Italy, and I won international piano competition. That became a start to my music journey in the United States. And of course, I was very thrilled to go to America to uh, continue my studies and mostly to try my luck as a concert pianist out there. Yeah, I do have some achievements in credits that are listed on my website. Well, it's like very long talk about that. Uh, but something was missing on that. Of course, I was lucky to play music. I was happy. I won some competitions there. I went to very distinctive schools like the Boston Conservatory. Now it's paired with the Berkeley School, and also I went to the USC. And but something was missing. I was really getting bored with an ability to express my own ideas. I also was very inspired by composing music, my own music. And actually, I composed my first song when I was in age 6. I just learned, how to play piano a little bit, and I just, was enrolled at school where I went to. And like my interest to composing came instantly to me. And uh, once upon a time, really, I was thinking about like maybe it's very cool to play like some background music at the parties and restaurants. I already had some experience with that, but was still very far from jazz. And one upon a time, a friend of mine told me that it's going to be a concert in at Catalina Bar and Grill, and it was a concert by Ahmad Jamal. He was supposed to be there for the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so we went. And what I heard so far totally mesmerized me because the music I just heard was like, it was just flowing. It was just, you know, different way of expression. And I don't even remember that Amar Jamal ever spoke. Maybe, of course, he introduced his musicians. And actually, I became a good friend with Jim Kamak, his former bass player. And unfortunately, Ahmad Jamal passed not too long ago. And so far, Ahmad Jamal was like my biggest turning point to make me get deep into jazz piano. Before that, I was not even thinking that, you know, this is kind of a serious thing. And as I thought, like, people are just people who play jazz, they just enjoy themselves, and that's it. But that's how it started. It became my turning point in that situation, and I decided to pursue this kind of dream. I was pretty much through with the classical music. It didn't make me happy anymore, and the great stress of playing classical piece, especially if it's a very long one, especially if it's like very, very uh, important performance, such as competition, such as audition to something, and it's very, very hard. Well, I decided to make my transition. By then, I already graduated from the USC, Thornton School of Music, and moved to the East Coast. I got married by then, and it happened that our next door neighbor was a sax player from New York originally. Um, his name was Fred Foss. Unfortunately, he passed away, and I'm really missing him. He was he was a unique person. He was a character. Like he didn't really teach me. I cannot consider him. I wouldn't say I ever had a mentor or someone who taught me, uh, like told me what to work on, blah blah blah. What Fred did, he basically taught me jazz history. So I learned by ears, listening all stories he've been through, and about those people he played with and interacted with. He used to tell me, his voice was very funny, like his manner of talking, like listen to Bud, listen to Bird, Bird was bad. It was like his expression. And also, like the other thing he did, he could like knock on the door any time of the day and say he was bringing his saxophone and saying, "Hey Sabine, let's play something." That's how I actually learned uh, some repertoire. And also, I still remember his music. He didn't have chart for that, but I could easily pick up what I heard uh, by ear, and I was able to figure out the chord changes for that. Very soon after that, he started taking me to his gigs, and someday I was introduced to the great bassist Butch Warren. Butch was a very remarkable person and musician. He was featured on almost every Blue Note record. He played with Lee Morgan. He was featured on first album of Herbie Hancock, Taking Off. Uh, it's just easier to name people he didn't play with, but unfortunately, to certain circumstances, his health was in very poor condition, and he didn't do very well. Um, by that time, I was introduced to him and started playing with his band. It was my regular gig on usually Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, and it was fun. And since jazz is very much more, way more appreciated on the East Coast, we always had a full house. Everybody was there, even cops were there. The only exception was when it was a game. Oh, really bad weather, really bad. Um, well, so that was my work with Butch Warren, but I really decided, go back to LA because I got used to warm weather, despite I'm from Russia, but I still like it warm, and I decided to come back, which I did like in 2009. I came back to Los Angeles. Well, I started playing with different people, and also I decided maybe I should start my own band, and which I did. Um, well, it was like very hard for me because I didn't really have a mentor. I only learned from different people over the years. I could hear some advices, what I should do, what I should work on, blah blah blah. And also, I tried to incorporate uh, the ideas I heard like on the solos that I transcribed, and also from people I played with, um, developing my own vocabulary and my own style eventually. Excuse me, I have to get some water. I'm getting really dry. So, like mostly working with a trio, it led me to record several albums. My last albums uh, I want to show. This one was made was recorded in 2017, I guess. It was with a trio, and as my sideman, I had Tony Dumas on bass. Great Tony Dumas. I learned a lot from Tony. Um, and my drummer was John Stewart. The album was half acoustic, and several tunes were electric, which I recorded on Fender Rhodes. It's called Chasing a Dream. So it has uh, 9 original tunes and couple standards. It's Around Midnight and Humpty Dumpty. My other album was made as solo album. It's called In the Key of Monk. Yes, Chasing the Dream was the trio album once again, and In the Key of Monk. This is my solo album. Once I heard music of Thelonious Monk, I became quickly inspired by that, and I just found that Monk's music is like really unique in a way of like he did his voicings, and his style is just unmatched and very remarkable. So this one has 11 tracks, and mostly it's Monk music and in my own arrangements. And the only thing which belongs to me as original uh, is entitled In the Key of Monk. So if you're interested, please contact me, and if you want to purchase the album. So, and I know due to COVID, I'm really overdue with my um, new album. I hope to record it as soon as possible, as soon as I know the musicians I'm gonna do it with. But this one is gonna be entirely original stuff on there. And maybe I'll add a horn player. Probably it's gonna be a trumpet player on the tune or a couple of tunes. So it's gonna be hopefully recorded this or not this, maybe next year. And also, I would love to talk about my upcoming concert, trio concert, which is going to be tomorrow. Uh, it's called, the venue is called the Harmony Room. It's in the St. Barnabas Church in Eagle Rock. They have very nice venue, very nice piano and stage, and they are very welcoming people. So I hope you guys can make it to see me performing tomorrow with my trio. And I hope people who live in Eagle Rock or North Hollywood um, or LA, not too far, they will be able to make it. The concert starts at 8 o'clock, and it's gonna be for an hour and a half. I hope to see you guys there. Well, speaking of some advice I heard from older musicians, not really advice I can talk about, but I just learned everything from everybody as much as I could. Um, from Tony Dumas, for example, I learned the way to think harmonically independent and be very inventive with my harmony styles, and that was very important. Actually, lots of musicians find it's very challenging to play with Tony, but to me it was just fun, very fun experience. I really missed playing with him. Well, in terms of you know giving advice to um, younger musicians, well, I have some notes. I can go over them because it's like very hard to think about some particular things from top of your head. So I have like maybe 6 or 7 points I want to talk about. What I want to say, you have to learn how to play your instrument. Maybe if you have an opportunity to have some classical training, maybe less intense, maybe intense, it would be nice because good technique, good and solid technical skills will help you to first develop your own vocabulary, and second thing, to express your ideas very freely. So by classical training really paid off in that point of thing. Also, be very aware of self-education. It's nice if we go to school, if we go to college uh, to study at the jazz program, but still, you should never stop learning. You should never stop learning different styles in jazz and around jazz, like gospel, blues, fusion, Latin, and also listen to classical music, like great classical symphonic works, of course. Also, it's very important, like jazz musicians, I would say they belong to categories. You are either a sideman or you are band leader. One of like people I really respect, he said, at schools they teach you how to be a sideman, but they don't teach you how to be a band leader. Well, I agree and disagree with him at the same time. I would say you cannot become a leader if you don't have a personality of leader. So if you are decided on your jazz journey, like myself, you have to um, decide for yourself who you are. Either you are a sideman or you're a band leader. Also, like my advice number four, always try to learn every new tune almost every day if possible, and also try to play with it. Play it in different time signature, play it in different styles, and of course in different key, especially if you are a piano player, right? Because I'm sure the piano player must be able to transpose and do it without like any software or like help with a smartphone. Well, and my last advice could be very strange to some people, but to me it makes very perfect sense because it was an issue mm, I struggled with. And that was like maybe it was coming from my classical training because as a classical musician, whatever you practice or you go on stage, you judge like your every execution, you judge your every note, you being very hard on yourself. In jazz, a totally different situation. In jazz, I would say you should learn to love your raw notes and make them sound right and connected with the rest uh, of music ideas. So, well, it looks like I'm almost over in my music journey um, and my know-hows. I was able and happy to share with you. Um, Hopefully, you found them helpful, and hopefully, it will help you to develop your own style and uh, make your journey in music and journey in jazz more pleasant. I want to thank Gail again for having me, and I wish you happy and nice weekend. I hope I see some of you at my concert tomorrow. Thank you very much.